Okay, we have reached quorum. It took about 30 seconds. So thank you guys for being here today, Tuesday, January 18th, for our virtual work session for the mayor and council. I am gonna do a call of order to put it on the record. Valerie Will.
I'm here.
Valerie.
I'm here, sorry.
Thank you. You're fine. Jared.
I'm here.
Luke.
Here.
Danielle.
Here.
So we met quorum. Moving on to item number 2, review of the agenda. At this moment, I'll ask Councilmember Woodall, can you please go ahead and read the agenda?
Yep. Items for discussion, call to order. 1, number 2, review of the agenda. 5 minutes. The mayor and city council will review the agenda for the meeting, adding or deleting topics of interest or discussion. 3, presentation and discussion on report from the recreation committee. 20 minutes. The mayor and council will receive a report from the recreation committee. Number 4, presentation and discussion on report from the Gateway CDC. 20 minutes. The mayor and council will receive a report from Gateway CDC. 5, presentation and discussion on the proposed amendment to section 13-101 of the Mount Rainier City Code to alter the allowance for blocking driveways by residents. 20 minutes. Councilmember Daniel Carter will introduce changes to our original proposal that would amend section 13-101 of the Mount Rainier City Code to alter the allowance for blocking driveways by residents. Number 6, presentation and discussion on the proposed FY26 budget, 25 minutes. The city manager, Kurush Kamali, and Mr. Ronald Wilson will present the proposed FY26 budget to the mayor and council and have a discussion on tax rate. Number 7, presentation of minutes, 5 minutes. The city clerk will present the February 4, 2025 legislative meeting minutes to the mayor and council. Number 8, proposal to go into closed session. According to the annotated code of Maryland, the mayor and council of the city of Mount Rainier, Maryland, have statutory authority to close a session under general provisions, Article 13305B, for the reasons of subsection 7.7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. The mayor and council propose to go into closed session on Tuesday, February 18th, to consult with the city attorney to obtain legal advice. Number 9, adjournment. Upcoming events: the Gateway Media Arts Lab and In the Booth Collective Black History Month celebration, Thursday, February 20th, 2025, at the Gateway Media Arts Lab, 3311 Rhode Island Avenue, Mount Rainier, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Thomas Stone School, Elementary School, in partnership with the City of Mount Rainier Black History Month Showcase, Thursday, February 27, 2025, at Thomas Stone Elementary School. Prince George's County Special Primary Election Day, Tuesday, March 4th, 2025, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. The budget public hearing, Saturday, March 22nd, 2025. Community yard sale, Saturday, April 5th, 2025. Egg hunt, Saturday, April 26th, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Mount Rainier Nature Center. City Election Day, Monday, May 5th, 2025, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Mount Rainier Nature Center. Mount Rainier Day, Saturday, May 24th, 2025, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Mount Rainier Nature Center.
It sounds like we're going to be very, very busy, and I'm sure that's not even half of the events from here to May, because all of our wonderful committees and teams are heavily busy. All right, perfect. Thank you guys so much. We're going to move on to item number 3, presentation discussion on report from the Recreation Committee. Mayor and Council will receive a report from the Recreation Committee. Our appointee from the council is Councilmember Wood. Also, Valerie, I will give you the floor.
Thank you. We have Stephanie Schlesinger and Emily Bird here to present to Mayor and City Council on what the Recreation Committee has been up to. So with that, I'll let them, Melissa, they might need to become host to present.
Who should I give the sharing capabilities to?
You could give it to me, to Stephanie.
Stephanie.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephanie.
Of course. Once I get
And
it.
thank you for the clarification, Melly, because Melly was like, how many people? All All right, perfect. And thank you guys for being here. As you guys recall, our wonderful recreation committee was appointed by us to a life term of like service forever in life a few months ago and the year before. And they've been doing outstanding work when it comes to getting the community engaged and focusing on events. And you hear directly from them. All right, I think you're ready. So let's give you enough
Yes.
time, Stephanie. Go ahead.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. As long as you can all see my screen, okay, we can get started. So I'm Stephanie Schlesinger. I am one of the co-chairs of our fabulous Recreation Committee. Thank you everyone for giving us the time to present some of our highlights and our efforts over the past year. So, and just in terms of what you'll see, I'll first walk through some of the committee event highlights, and then Emily, who's co-chair, will share updates from our grant recipient events and activities. So let's see if this works. There we go. So first, just to set the stage, the Mount Rainier Recreation Committee aims to facilitate multi-generational recreational opportunities in the areas of sports, appreciation of our natural environment and the arts. The committee is a steward of or for the City of Mount Rainier recreational resources, ensuring that residents have full access and take full advantage of our neighborhood treasures. So overall, from the 4 events we've hosted, we've engaged over 500 residents of Mount Rainier and the surrounding communities. We've awarded 2 grants so far, and we've worked to expand our committee. So we're excited to share that we now have 5 committee members, with 2 of our newest members, Megan Haber and Jenny Hoffpower, starting late last year. So we are excited that we have a small but very mighty team, and we work really hard to focus our efforts on the events that bring the most impact and community engagement for our wonderful city. So with that, I'll move over to the community cleanup and brunch. Last April, neighbors turned up to pick up trash all along our streets and then gathered at J&J Taqueria for a group brunch. We received some great feedback from the event in terms of helping out our neighborhood, curb appeal, and just helping folks get outside and being able to mingle with neighbors. So for this next year, with so many other events surrounding Earth Day, such as school and county hosted events, along with the Green Team Committee efforts, we are going to hold off from our own hosted event, but also provide our support where we can and are able. Moving on to Pride, our Pride, we started positioning it as, instead of just a Pride Parade, to Pride Day 2024. This event featured a very joyful parade through the city, followed by a community resource and solidarity fair, featuring more than a dozen local LGBTQ+ supportive organizations, a drag queen performance, and fun activities for kids. We had a wonderful turnout by community members of all ages, and it was just a great point in time for us to celebrate this community. This quote from that we have highlighted here on the slide from a resident, I thought hit perfectly. Our town's Pride Parade and event was a heartfelt celebration of love, acceptance, and the vibrant spirit of our community. What was also interesting, and I think helped to spread the word, is that we tabled at the Gateway Farmers Market, and it was a great opportunity for us to just talk and meet with other community members face to face, outside of our typical promotional channels. So we'll look to find other ways to leverage the events happening in our community to promote our committee events. So moving over to Porch Fest. This was a new event this past year, and it was a really fun one to plan and participate in. It was hosted on a wonderful, beautiful Saturday afternoon. We really lucked out with the weather. It was hosted in September, and we had a number of different neighbors participating in sharing their talents. For one of the projects, it drew over 20 kids for a front porch art project. and well over 100 neighbors came out for shows along 31st Street, neighboring porches, and a Cuban music dance party at our gazebo. So personally, we all thought this was a wonderful way to showcase our local artists, and it was a lot of fun just to gather in the street and just hear some music with sort of an unstructured feel to it. We always hear about the wonderful talent in our neighborhood, and it was great to be able to experience that firsthand and share with the rest of the community. So this is an event I think that we all have a lot of heart for, and we're looking forward to hosting again and also growing it in the years to come. And last but certainly not least, we have our Sweaty Sweater. It's our annual Sweaty Sweater Fun Run. I think it's safe to say that the word is officially out about how fun this event is. We had a 33% increase in registrations over the last year. In total for this year, we had 206 registrations, and we handed out more than 100 medals to all participants. And I think with the increase in participation, the plan is to professionalize and formalize this event in the years to come, just so that we can really manage the interest overall. And with that, just to close out the detail on our event section, I also wanted to share that we do our best to try and participate in other community-led events to show our support and promote the events that we host. We had an event last year. We had a group walk in the Mount Rainier Day Parade where they handed out seeds for native flowers and sharing the upcoming dates of our Porch Fest and Sweaty Sweater. It was really cute. They all dressed as butterflies, and we called it the Monarch March. We've also hosted a trunk for the past few years at the police department trunk or treat, where we give away local apples, and that always seems to be a hit, especially with the parents. So overall, these were just the highlights of some of our most recent effort. And with that, I will pass it over to Emily. And Emily, just let me know when you need me to advance the slides.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Stephanie. As Steph said, my name's Emily Bird. I love being on the rec committee. It's my second year now doing it. So it's been a really wonderful opportunity to get to know our community better. You can go ahead and go to I think the next one is the grant slide. So in addition to our rec committee events, we also have a recreation grant application where we recommend community groups get funded directly by the city to host their own events. So far this year, we've had 2 grantees. I'll talk a little bit about the grant application process just so that everyone is aware and can help promote to our citizens. The city of Mount Rainier will grant up to $2,500 to organizations or to individuals that wish to hold programs, activities, and events that support our community as a whole. The grant provides reimbursement of eligible expenses. Programs must be open to residents of Mount Rainier and promote enhanced community engagement. We are currently still accepting applications on a rolling basis until May 20th of this year, and that's for our current fiscal year. We are also have worked a little this year, and I think are gonna prioritize next year too, just continuing to work on the application process and making it as easy as possible to apply and go through that process. So anyone that gets questions about it can always refer to the city's rec committee website that has our application. It has the scoring rubric we use. All of the nitty-gritty details are there for anyone who is interested. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the two awesome events that we've had so far this year. Steph, if you want to go. So this past December, we were able to support Joe's Movement Emporium in their Kwanzaa event. So this was like a Saturday afternoon event. They had over 130 people attend. And it was centered around the idea of creativity that is found in Kwanzaa. So it included holiday crafting, music, live dance, and they were able to engage visual and performing arts instructors who live and work or in some way, have space here in Mount Rainier to lead their event workshops. It also featured the West African Drum and Dance Company, Soul in Motion. There was face painting, henna art, lots of cool stuff. So that was one of our grantees this year. And then the other event we supported is in the next slide, I think. I think we're moving backwards, but that's okay. In the fall, the Gateway Farmers Market hosted a fall festival that I think, according to their numbers, drew at least 700 people. So it was a really cool event that they just used to highlight a lot of appreciation for agriculture, environmental values, bringing community together. So grant funds for them helped provide locally sourced food and drink for attendees, as well as Gateway Arts Lab artists. They had a professional photographer there taking pictures for folks, free art programming for kids. And then they had their regular market participants as well as new local producers. So Eco City Farms was there, and Mount Rainier's own TVBs made an appearance. And the quote on there from Megan and Gary, who have been the couple who have started the farmers market this past year, that they were super excited to be able to partner with Mount Rainier. And they said the event fostered community fun, appreciation for agriculture and environmental values, brought people together. So we really enjoyed seeing both of these events be so successful. And then I think the next slide is just to wrap up our upcoming events. So I think Steph mentioned at the beginning, we still have events to finish out the year. Our community yard sale will be up next and is going to be on April 5th. So there'll be information coming soon on that. We are doing our Pride Parade or Pride Day this summer as well again. And then looking towards our next fiscal year, we're excited to do Porch Fest again. It was, I think, one of my favorite things that I've gotten to do with the Recreation Committee. So we're excited to have that again. And then, of course, we're going to do the 3rd annual Sweaty Sweater Run. And so we're super excited about what's coming up. Thank you for hearing about us. If you have any questions, if you have folks who are interested in joining Rec Committee or in any of our programming, our email is there. Steph and I do check the email inbox. So you can always send us an email and our names are below. And I think unless anyone has, or we're happy to take questions from anybody or
thank you so much for a presentation. Can you do me a favor? Can you give Millie access back to the shared document? Because she always reminds me, I keep forgetting about that. Other than that, it's like I'm going to pass it out to council so that way they could give their feedback and comment. They will open up to the community. But thank you for that beautiful presentation. And I will save the rest of my comments after everybody goes. But we definitely appreciate all the hard work that you guys have been putting towards this and how professional it also is. So Jared, I'm going to start with you.
Yep. No, I just want to thank both of you for just taking the time tonight, this evening, to come to council and just talk about all the great work you've been doing. Although I think I've been at I think I've actually been at all of these. So it's,
I think so.
I just gotta say, I really appreciate the, sweat equity, the time, the effort, the thoughtfulness at, curating a very kind of diverse set of events, and then also a very inclusive, both in just approach, but also to the different communities across the city. So I just really want to thank you for all the time you put in. As a committee member, putting time in for free, and I really appreciate the work you've done, and look forward to future ones as well. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. Go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, I just want to say big thank you to everyone. I was here back when, before I was on council, Jesse Christofferson reset up the Recreation Committee. It was my first time getting involved in the city. I had moved here not too long before then. Got involved, helped to set it up. And it was nowhere near as good as this. It was, lack the professionalism that I think you all have brought to the table here. It's just really incredible. I'm always been a fan of doing a few things, but doing them well. And I think the approach to doing something on kind of that quarterly basis is really smart and really something I think a lot of our committees can learn a lot from. And so I just really appreciate you all having that kind of discipline and focus. I think that's something that those are skills that just they aren't in abundance, I think, around the world right now. So I appreciate y'all stepping up in this community. This is just a great example. I was smiling a lot looking at the pictures of just why our family loves living here, and a lot of that is because it's just the great people like you stepping up and doing this great stuff. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That definitely has set the standard for sure when it comes to this. So when the other committees come to present, it's like, we're going to give them your presentation, okay? No pressure. You guys created this. All right, perfect. Danielle, and then Valerie.
Yeah, guys, this is awesome. This is fantastic. I was the unprofessional one running the Recreation Committee for the 6.5 years before I joined the council. And, being ADHD, I was just had one idea after another, and I had all the time to do them. And, but, the fact that you guys have honed this into 4 good, solid events, this is great. You have a small committee, you're able to focus on the 4, and they're very good. I love the fact that the Pride Parade and the community yard sale has survived. And I love how the 5K has developed into this amazing Sweaty Sweater Run. I would run it. If you see me running, you need to run faster, but I support it so much. And I sat out here talking with Santa on that morning. It was a great event. You guys have done wonderful. And as a former chair of the committee, I am so proud of you guys.
Okay, Valerie.
Yeah, I think everybody said basically what I would say, but I'm really proud to work with you all on the Recreation Committee, and I'm glad to see it continuing to evolve into a more professional entity. So that's good. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. So I will say my feelings about it. Definitely thank you for putting that effort. I know that I think more of us, more or less, we all have done our best to contribute, participate. So Jerry, I do see you. So it's always interesting because we try to split. Jerry does the run, I do the walk. Valerie also does supervision, registration, also the walk, because we want to make sure there's a balance between the run and the walk, right? But I love seeing how people are so early and making sure they're there, how they're reaching out. But you guys continue to create this essence of people knowing this is coming and how to on it. But I think that also having the city do so many more events is very important for the rec committee to do what they've done, right? Focus on the various events to make sure that we are cohesively working together instead of against each other or trying to fight for time, because it doesn't help anybody, because at the end of the day, they are a community combined, right? So I would say thank you. And Valerie, I also want to give you a big shout out, because I know when you became the liaison, you had your mind set up to what you want to see it on the other side and the administrative end as well. And you definitely put a great team together, and we're ripping the wonderful benefits out of this. So to all those that have been part of the rec committee through the process. Thank you guys so much. And I love how positive you guys are, and love seeing, oh, by the way, don't forget that Mount Rainier Day is coming. Even the fact that you guys are engaging in other spaces to bring awareness, and so that way people also feel, not just because you're the rec committee, but they also feel very comfortable, like coming to you or talking to you, and that's setting a feeling like not just safe, but welcome in that space. It allows for people to want to participate and engage and figure out what ways to go. So thank you definitely for doing that as well. It's very appreciated. Okay. So I know I have a minute or so. Maybe do we have anybody in the audience that wishes to say something? No? Okay. So the only thing I will remind you guys is like make sure that and I think I did saw it in the Kwanzaa flyer for Joseph did had a logo. So just make sure the logos are always there for the sponsors. So the only thing I would like to work out is figure out how we as you guys approve the grants, to make sure that the information is passed through us, so that way we could promote, and then the residents know that this is heavily work from you guys, paid by tax dollars, right? So that way they know that the city is doing all this additional work, because I think that at times people don't always realize that the communities are also attached to us as part of our budget process, and is what is called a representative budget. In that sense, when you have various like community members working these committees voluntarily in order to be able to help and put programming forward. So that's the way that the city continues to have representation when it comes to the community members, even outside, how do you call it, the budget process, but extended to not just mayor and council, but also the various groups. And you heard it clearly from them. If you want to volunteer, they will take volunteers. If you want to enjoy and have fun activities, they have plenty of fun activities, but they definitely work really hard, and we appreciate you guys for that. And seeing that I have no comments, I will go ahead, and you're welcome to stay the rest of the meeting. But if not, you're welcome to like go rest, and you have a full calendar work, of ideas and stuff. So I know you guys constantly meet as well. So thank you guys so much for that. Okay.
So,
All right. Have a good night. You're welcome to stay though. I don't want you guys to run away.
Thank you.
You're like, no, bye. All right, take care. Okay, moving on to the next presentation. We have presentation, discussion, and report from Gateway CDC. The mayor and council received a report from Gateway CDC, and I know Michelle Lee is here. But Valerie, I'm gonna pass it to you in case I need to miss something, or if I miss another member from the CDC board. How do you call it, that is here as well?
Yes, thank you. So we have Michelle Lee here and Robert Clark from Gateway CDC. The Gateway Community Development Corporation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that supports the municipalities of Mount Rainier, Brentwood, and North Brentwood together, as well as the Gateway Arts Management District. And so they are going to give us a report. The City Council has supported them in the past, and it's a collaborative funding structure with Brentwood, North Brentwood, and Mount Rainier to support their operations in the past 2 years. So they're going to give a report like they did last year on what they did this past year. So Michelle is here and she can take it away from here, I think.
Michelle, do you need sharing capability? Melissa has your presentation.
I give
if
it
you
to
need
her
us,
already.
Oh,
All
there
right,
you go.
perfect. So
Okay.
you have it, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Let me share my screen. Hold on. Can everybody see?
Yes.
We could see now, yes.
Okay, let me move the window. My windows are overlapping. There we go. So I want to say, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm Michelle Lee, Executive Director of Gateway CDC. I want to thank you, first of all, for your support and the time that you're giving me for this meeting to present. We have been working really hard to make sure that we have improved Gateway CDC's operations and capacity. And without you all, this would not have been possible. So I want to update you on our accomplishments and activities. For those of you, hold on. Oh, Valerie's already spoken to our mission. Economic development through the arts is our mantra. We are a nonprofit organization, and we support artists in the Gateway Arts District, creative enterprises, and the broader community, with a focus on the lower 3 towns of the Gateway Arts District, being Mount Rainier, Brentwood, and North Brentwood. We have recently had a leadership change at Gateway CDC. For those of you that may not know, Marcus Monroe was our previous board president, and our new board president, Robert Clark, is on with us. I wanted to give him a couple of minutes to say hello and introduce himself.
So good evening, everybody. I am Robert Clark. I am our new president at large. Really looking forward to an opportunity to work with each and every one of you. I did want to say thank you so much for this opportunity to reconvene one more year to kind of just let you know how Gateway CDC is improving in the community.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
We also have some new team members as well. Like I said, we're working on improving our capacity. We have recently engaged Carol Bernard, who some of you may remember. She used to work with Gateway CDC, and she is now a communications consultant. So she's going to be helping us increase communications capacity, helping us push the messaging out, and making sure that we raise the visibility of Gateway and our partners. Also, because sustainability is such a big deal for Gateway CDC, we've brought on a nonprofit professional by the name of Danielle Cornwall, who is going to be helping us with fundraising and grant management. She is a resident of Hyattsville as well, so she lives in the community. So we are also excited to share that we have received 2 new grants. The first grant was in partnership with Joe's Movement Emporium. We received $400,000 to address stormwater runoff challenges that they've been having. The second grant was awarded in partnership with Minyote Kabeta, who is a filmmaker at the Gateway Media Arts Lab. And we received $100,000 to help us focus on expanding filmmaking capacity within the Gateway Arts District. There's also going to be a public engagement component of that as well. So we'll be able to show screenings and things like that. That'll be housed at the Gateway Arts Center. And it will be considered an extension of the lab. So lab members will be able to use the facilities as well. The next 2 slides showcased a few of the ways that we've been working to support artists and have an impact through our programs, marketing efforts, and events. One key initiative for us, as they said in the Recreation Committee report, was the support and the partnership with the Gateway Farmers Market. We sent over some of our team members to help with event logistics, to provide free photography services for Harvest Fest, and to help with, providing, marketing and publicity. I do think that one of our team members got the farmers market on WPFW radio station, so they did get some radio play out of that. I was very happy about that. We are also continuing to provide exhibit space and event space, giving artists a platform to showcase their work and engage with the public. And we are also continuing to publish the Lab magazine. We have published 2 issues since we last updated you, and the next issue will be coming out in March next month. And the publication is designed to amplify the voices of our local artists and to highlight important developments in our community. So progress and impact is how we measure our success. Gateway CDC has worked really hard, like I said, to strengthen the organization and to improve capacity and service delivery. But more importantly, we are also leveraging our resources to support artists, to support the towns, and to grow the Gateway Arts District. A strong Gateway CDC can amplify our community, the activities of our community partners, and ultimately garner more resources, which is what we're really looking to do. Oh, before I move on to the next slide, one thing I want to highlight is we have also been working with stakeholders to reactivate the Gateway Arts District Management Team. The process has taken a bit longer than we anticipated, but we are almost there. There's a required MOU that has to be signed by the 4 towns of the Arts District. And we are pleased to say that we just recently got the city of Hyattsville's okay and signature on the MOU. So at this point, Rhonda Dallas, excuse me, is working on getting the final signature from the county exec's office. And at that point, the paperwork goes to the Maryland State Arts Council. So this is going to make the Gateway Arts District eligible for a lot more funding from the state. So we are really excited about that development. It's been a long time coming. And as we look ahead, we plan to continue to improve our operations and our service delivery. We are going to be making some much needed improvements to our facilities. That has also taken a lot longer than we've wanted it to, but hopefully we're beginning to move forward with that very soon. It took a lot of paperwork. We're going to be making improvements to the lab, the Gateway Arts Center, and Gateway CDC headquarters. We're going to continue to seek additional funding sources. Like I said earlier, the next issue of the Lab magazine will be published in March. And one thing that I would like for everyone to keep an eye out for, we're going to be convening meetings and discussions to explore ideas and strategies for the entire Arts District corridor. We want to make sure that we begin to develop a common vision for our community, and that is one of Gateway's primary roles. So we just want to make sure that we provide a vision that lifts all boats, so to speak. And we'll be reaching out to you to let you know when we'll schedule those meetings. Again, we hope you can come out to our Black History Month celebration on Thursday. There's going to be food and drink. We will have a panel discussion as well as an exhibit. One note that I'd like to make is that we will be honoring Alonzo Davis, and many of you know he recently passed, and it's a huge loss for our community. Alonzo was a champion of the arts in general, and certainly the Black arts community nationally. So we hope to see some of you out there. And then again, I just want to say thank you for your support. We couldn't have done any of this without you, really. Your support made it possible, and I want to say thank you, and let's keep building.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for the presentation, all the work that you guys have been doing. So the flyer information is going to be it's already like it's going to be in our social media as well. We have pair up with Gateway once again this year for the Black History Month event. Last year, we also pair up with them, and it was a film discussion with a wonderful filmmaker about their documentary, their journey, and everything else, right?
Yeah.
Mitonte was actually the one that presented it. So I think that what the city has done pair up with like great collectives in making sure that we bring directly information from our residents who better than to pair up when it comes to like arts and in every single shape form of that you could even think or imagine and beyond in the Gateway CDC. So we look forward to this event and honestly, as well, honoring Alonzo Davis, that he wasn't just an artist in our community, but he was also a mentor to so many people, not just artists, but community members. And he was so supportive also many of us as well. So we definitely appreciate the various information that's been put out and as well that the various recognition on it. So please come out and enjoy some time with very, very creative and artistic people. All right, so I'm going to go around quickly on if anybody has a question about the presentation. And Michelle, I'll tell you the same thing I tell everybody else. You're welcome to stay, but you don't have to, okay? Michelle is like, I'll be here until 9, no problem. All right, perfect. So I'm going to go with Luke. Go ahead.
Michelle, thank you so much. When you said it was a long time coming, no joking about that. Like that was a long time coming to get to this point. And to see the Gateway CDC at this point is such a testament to your work, being in charge of things now. It's just incredible how far the Gateway CDC has come, and really excited for what the future holds. with this agreement getting into place. I just think that there's a ton of possibility here and just so much great work that has gone on here. You know, and just a word about Alonzo, you know, he was an inspiration for the city's Arts Commission here. Talking to him, and he would do this with everyone, right? You all know this, like he'd sit down with you and you would just have this moment with like, why is Alonzo? And he would tell you all about how to set up an arts commission and what to do and what he did in LA. And so every year the Arts Commission does something that's because Alonzo helped us tell us how to set up an arts commission and how to do it. So just wanted to say that a few words, but thank you so much, Michelle, for everything you do. And just appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
Perfect, Jared.
Yep, I'll really echo everything Luke said. Yeah, Michelle, you know, I've been in the Orbita Gateway for a while, being on the board in 2011, 14. And great to see it. I'm glad to see bringing Carol's expertise and experience to bear. But I just want to, again, say what an amazing job you've done building up the organization, building capacity, centering the organization in our community, doing so in an inclusive and thoughtful way. And, just again, this is the challenge that so many nonprofits have is kind of, getting up the scale and kind of getting permanent continuity and inertia. And Gateway's been so ups and downs over the years. And so many times we're so close and then kind of there's a backslide. I don't have that worry anymore because I see the work you're doing, the structure you're building, the staff you're hiring, the support you're getting and the networks you're building. And I'm really, really happy, really thrilled. And I'm just blown away by all the work you've done here. So just thank you so much. And I'm glad we're able to, as a city and our partner cities as well, we're able to support the organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle, and then Valerie.
Yeah, Michelle, on Alonzo, he was a dear human and will be sorely missed by everybody in the community. And sadly, those who knew him and even those who never did get to know him. So the testimony, everything Luke and Jared said is right on note. But I think the biggest testimony that I can convey to you is everything that I hear from the residents. Not just here in Mount Rainier, but in Brentwood and North Brentwood and Hyattsville, all the wonderful things that I constantly hear about. Oh my God, the CDC. Oh my God, the Gateway CDC. And I'm telling you, I mean, you guys you're a very valuable part of this community, not just Mount Rainier, which we're blessed to have you here, but the entire, our Route 1 corridor here. So yeah, on behalf of everybody who I've heard from, thank you so much for all you do. And we look forward to more.
Thank you.
Valerie.
Michelle, obviously, you know how I feel about everything that you've been doing. I think the organization is really growing and becoming a little more professional and building, and the capacity is really growing. So I'm glad that you're here presenting. I'm glad that everybody is supportive generally, and I hope to continue this partnership as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. So Michelle, we'll connect via email or text. Please let me know if Rhonda submitted the documents that needs to be signed by the acting county executive, because I am going to be seeing her this week.
Okay.
So I could at least remind them or ask our liaison to know that this is, if it's in their desk, if they could take care of it, because I know we definitely need to make sure those documents move, and we definitely need her signature. And also great job of bringing Hyattsville on board. I think that especially for Route 1, when we talk about the collective of Route 1, definitely Hyattsville is like a big part of who we are as Route 1. So that has been very important, and they are definitely a bigger city than we are by a lot. I think that all three little cities, like we think of ourselves as very big until Hyattsville is right next to us. Then we're like tiny. Again, all right. So perfect. Thank you for everything. And we look forward to the various events that are going to be happening. The city is working currently on something for Alonzo. We're not going to put it out yet, right? But I think that grieving is an interesting thing. I think we're doing it like in bits, because it's just so hard, because he's always was so busy being wonderful to everybody, but at the same time, in various locations, whether it was Mount Rainier, Brentwood, traveling to LA, at least for us, that's the reason how we heavily connected, because we both have the same, background, or we knew like some of the similar people in Los Angeles, right? So when we sat down, it felt like two old souls were sitting down discussing people that we knew, right? Which was like so odd that we actually came to find each other in Mount Rainier, right? But I think that the beauty about art is that it lives on way beyond the artist. And I think that that's part of the big gift that aside from how much effort he put in creating different things and the impacts he made on all of us, right? Whether you're viewing this or beyond, right? So that continues carry on. I think that that's where it gives us some stability to know that that continues, and all the input he made will continue on. It actually have one of his mentees artworks is actually in my house, so I might briefly borrow let the exhibition borrow my art piece from one of his mentees. Rafael Rodriguez piece is in my house, so that way it also display like the the mentorship that an impact he created all across for the rest of us. All right, so I'll connect with you, but you have to guard it with your life, because it's very limited. Well, I don't need to tell you. You're an artist. You know exactly what that means when it comes to like lending a piece, even if it's for like 5 seconds. All right, perfect. Thank you so much. So if you could reach out to Rhonda, we could reach out to Rhonda to figure out if it's already in the desk, so we could ask, and hopefully we could get it like sent back to us by this week, so that way we could figure out what the next steps are as well.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you. And I said, as a resident, I love the Gateway CDC. I know they have to offer. And this is Derek Reynolds. All right. Thank you, Derek. Anything on Facebook? Jared with a D. All right, perfect. So thank you, guys. And Robert, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to officially meet you, for the community to meet you through this outlet as well. All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Perfect. Have a good night, or you're welcome to join us, just like I told Michelle. You're welcome to stay. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next item. Item number 5, presentation discussion on proposed amendment to section 13.101 of the Mount Rainier Code to alter the allowance for blocking driveways by residents. 20 minutes. Councilmember Carr will introduce changes to her original proposal that will amend section 13.101 of the Mount Rainier City Code to alter the allowance for blocking driveways for residents. Go ahead, Danielle. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Melissa, do you have the presentation?
You want me to bring it up, or you want to share?
Yeah, I sent it. Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay, that would help out a lot.
Thank you, Melissa, for helping.
Thank you. Okay, while she's doing that, I'll go ahead and start. This is a representation of my original blocked driveway proposal. Since then, I have stayed the course in my opinion that no one should be allowed to block their driveway for safety reasons. As a former first responder, I always look at the public safety side of situations and err on those first. However, a week and a half ago, there was an argument presented that made sense to me, which sent me back to my original proposal to tweak it a little and see how it can benefit both sides of this problem. The problem: there has always been an issue with parking here in the city because there is little to no space to actually park which is what leads to people either partially or completely blocking driveways, whether they live there or not. We have the same issue here where I live a few years ago, where the house across the street blocked their driveway directly across the street from our driveway, making it almost impossible to get out of our driveway more times than not. When we addressed Chief Scott about it, he said there was nothing he could do about it because the law allowed for it. Next slide. I have had more than 10 residents complain about cars blocking their driveways, either partially or completely, day and night since I took office back in May of 23. I say more than 10 because I have honestly lost count. Some of these residents have watched car owners rip up tickets left by the police. That shows people have little to no respect for their neighbors, the city, and even contempt for our police. Blocking a driveway that does not belong to you is unfair, dangerous, and is not only illegal in Prince George's County, but is illegal in the vast majority of communities nationwide. All of this because one sentence in the city code that allows residents to block their own driveway, but has no provision to protect others. Next slide, please. Because of this one exclusion in the code, the police are essentially hand-tied when it comes to enforcement unless the resident calls and complains. This does not mitigate the problem and has forced many to just give up. Imagine you are trying to get to work, or as someone has claimed on a social media site, you or your partner are in labor, but your driveway is mostly blocked to where you cannot get out. You now must call the police and wait for them to get to you, and then wait for a tow truck. This is a direct quality of life issue. Next slide, please. The solution is a simple one, and it benefits both of those who both want to be able to block their driveway and those who don't want their driveways blocked. The police or the city will issue a dashboard permit to display so that when the police are patrolling and see them blocking their driveway, they notice the permit and keep going. That signals to the police that the homeowner or renters are okay with the car being there. For cars who are blocking either partially or completely, the police now can see who doesn't want them and can ticket those cars. As a side note, this is also a way for residents to learn about the ordinance who do not get the news blast and are on the website and get the newsletter. When they go to pay or complain about the ticket, they can prove that they live there and are issued a permit if they want one. What would council do? We would change the one sentence in the current code from except with the consent of the owner or occupant of the premises to except when a city issued permit is properly displayed on the car's dashboard. The permit is the easiest way to show the police who has permission to park there and who doesn't. And the next slide there, that's just the code for a reference, and I underlined the one sentence there. Now, the next slide, please. How will this work? A resident who wants to be able to block their driveway applies for a permit at the police station because that's a traffic issue. The resident signs a release acknowledging that they are aware that blocking their own driveway is considered dangerous and a safety hazard, and accepts that they can still be ticketed by a county police officer because it is still illegal in the county. This is also known as informed consent. The police or parking fills out the permit and laminates it to reduce fraud and abuse, and then gives it to the resident. The resident puts the permit on the dashboard whenever they block their driveway so the police can see that the car has permission to park there. Next slide, please. I would recommend a bright neon orange for visibility and have the address in large bold lettering to make it easier for the officers to see without having to get out of their vehicles. And this is just a mock-up. I would say that the signatures could be smaller so the address is even larger, just to make it easier. Next slide, please. There is precedent for issuing permits to allow people to block their own driveways. Here is one I found in California who also has issues with limited parking spaces in many areas. And you can look it up and read it if you want. Luke, you may want to do that if you're interested. Next slide, please. Now, parking has been an issue in Mount Rainier for a very long time, but we cannot continue to allow people to park however they wish, especially when it directly affects the quality of life of other residents who buy and rent here. By adopting the permitting for this allowance, we will be able to help people on both sides of this issue, which will have the greatest impact community-wide. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. Mr. Kamali, I think I saw Chief here. Chief, can you give us any feedback on this? I'm not sure if you've seen the presentation or not, or because at this point it sounds like, if I understand correctly, Chief, the way it currently works is if somebody's parked in front of your driveway, is activated by the police department receiving a call, correct?
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Chief.
how it currently works. If there's a complaint that comes in, normally it's a vehicle that's restricting someone's mobility, not being able to get out of their parking lot or parking driveway, not being able to easily pass the roadway because of a car. So we look at those, of course, on a case-by-case basis. I also see now, looks like as of March 8th, 2024, the county has a similar, let me check one thing. The county has a similar ordinance such as the city of Mount Rainier. Let me read that. It's actually the county section 26.127.04, and it says C, standing or parking. No person shall stand or park a vehicle within, and it's number 1, within 3 feet of a private driveway without the consent of the owner or occupant of the premises. So that at one time it was totally illegal. Now they have the same restrictions as we have.
Thank you so much, Chief. Give me a minute. Other thing to clarify, because I want to make sure we're on the same page. The police department does not issue permits, right? That's our code department who issues permits, correct?
Yes, it's code who issues the parking zone permits, and I see that DC in Georgetown also thought of the same idea as Councilwoman Carter, where they issued driveway permits because of the parking issues they were having in Georgetown for residential parking. So my take on this is it would have to be a criteria that we would want them to meet on a case-by-case basis, that we don't want to grant permission and parking permits when it would create other problems and other hazards. So it's seemingly something that could work here, but we just want to do it on a case-by-case basis.
So, Chief, how is this gonna potentially remove the fact that we already have very limited parking, and now we're gonna restrict it to even less parking? And my other question to you is, and I'll talk to the rest of the council members if they want, who's gonna be enforcing this parking passes?
That would go through code. Well, the enforcement would be our parking authority or parking officer and our police officers. But the enforcement will be those that are impeding the flow of traffic or impeding access for others getting out of driveways on our more narrow streets that we have. Because I'm just trying to think of some of the complaints that we've had over time. Because I look back and I believe we talked about this issue last in August of 2023 over on off of Perry Street, one of the side streets there. Because we know we have that 3-foot buffer on each side of the driveways as well. So that's considered, anyone in that buffer is considered, blocking that driveway as well.
Okay, so let me open the floor to the council members. I have a couple more questions. And thank you for reading the Prince George's County Code. And now we are lined up the same way. So therefore, that means that the county is not going to be stopping by and citing. So it gets activated by people calling or one way or another, whether it's like calling the county, calling the city. That's how it gets activated when it comes to blockage of the driveway. All right, Jared, I'm going to go to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Danielle, for putting this together. I appreciate you taking the time and the research. I mean, there's quite a bit of not only kind of digging into our code, but looking at peer locations, especially in other jurisdictions as well. I know this is like an issue. I feel basically I can see both sides of, because we do not have enough. I mean, we are a streetcar suburb designed before cars, where many houses don't have driveways at all. and there's you know, in general pretty limited parking. You know, the provision that we have, which I think is, you know, unique to our community, which is particularly dense, you know, it's the densest city in the state of Maryland, you know, I think creates some flexibility for folks to basically utilize a spot in front of their house and remove themselves from basically taking a public parking spot. So, you know, on the flip side, you know, I have obviously, as you know, have heard from residents about generally inadvertent blocking of their driveway as well. So I've, you know, have a lot of residents appreciate the opportunity to block utilize the spot in front of their driveway, particularly because, you know, for safety. I hear safety reasons a lot for kids playing in the driveway, shortage. You know, my block has plenty of parking as the way the street design. A lot of streets with 35-foot lots, wide lots, and others have less. So, you know, I guess I'd want to. It's really easy for me to sort of postulate on what the right solution is here. I want to make sure that, you know, because our code and our police are working through this on a day-by-day basis. They know when someone calls. They know how frequently a vehicle's blocked inadvertently. They know when, you know, folks are purposely blocking their, and they know about the administrative burden and our ability to effectively enforce something basically 24/7. So I think I'd love to get. I guess it doesn't. It sounds like this might be the first time staff saw this presentation. So I think it might be helpful for. I think maybe the approach to get a little bit more built out. You know, and staff feedback on how this could potentially work. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Sorry, Valerie, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So I appreciate you bringing this presentation to us. I think, I guess I have a couple of questions. First, I'd like to know a little bit more about like how many calls that the police department or code enforcement actually gets on this issue on a regular basis. Like if we have some data behind this, how much of an issue is this other than just anecdotal? I think I'd like to know how much it would cost to issue permits and then to enforce it, what that looks like. I also had a question if it's a hazard to park across your driveway for EMS and police and safety, then is there a legal ramification if the city's issuing a permit to allow that? I'd like to know a little bit more about that. And then I guess just echoing Jarrett, I think it would be good to have the chief of police and code enforcement and Mr. Kamali working with this proposal to kind of work through what it would look like, how it would work, and when we could roll it out if that's just something we're going forward with. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Luke?
Yeah, thank you for putting this together, Danielle. I'm struggling with, Chief, has there ever been an instance where you've gotten a call from a resident to come out and cite a car and you haven't been able to do it?
I can't think of a time where we've been called to cite a car and we haven't been able to do it.
Okay. So I'm wondering, like, I'm trying to think through this in my head. So right now, I think the issue, Danielle, as you presented it, is people are blocking people's driveways and they're not the owners there. Somebody's blocking somebody's driveway. And so the solution to that would be to enforce the law, get these people to not block the driveway. So I'm struggling with the effectiveness. Like the solution would seem to be enforce that. Now I get the argument that it's hard to enforce because police won't know if it's the resident or not. And I understand that. But it's like having a car parked in front of a driveway with a permit isn't going to necessarily stop somebody from parking in front of a driveway. Like it's like you're the solution would be like, unless the argument is like that by having somebody with a permit, the police will be more likely to see somebody who doesn't have a permit and then we'll be able to ticket them. And that's assuming that this will become like a normal thing that parking enforcement would go around and ticket for. And so I think that gets back to Valerie's point, which would be understanding then the cost of the program. So how much would it cost to do permits to residents? Sort of, but I imagine that's not much cost. The understanding from the police chief, like whether that would be difficult or time consuming, or not really difficult, but like how much time it would take for parking enforcement to tour the neighborhood. If that's anything more than what it does now, or it would just be part of their regular touring around the neighborhood. I think that would be good to know. And yeah, that I think of it like makes sense and it doesn't cost much money and it could help people. And chiefs and code seem to think it would be an easy thing to administer and there wouldn't be much cost to it. I could see how this would make sense.
Thank you, Luke. So I'm hearing everything everybody's saying, but I think I have to agree there's more information that we need when it comes to this, right? I think that the fact that there's a misconception also that the county ruling is different than the city ruling, it definitely makes it a difference. I don't know if legally with the little document of saying we're signing off to the cities, if the county comes, so whoever comes, we are legally responsible is something that we can do. I think that I don't think the city wants to like put themselves in that position, right? But the other part that I find a little difficult, like the pass looks like it has the address of the person. So I will tell you that I don't per se see the officers driving by being able to read the windshields of addresses, or even in our case, our parking enforcement personnel, we only have one, right? So they definitely will need to, they won't be able to monitor this 24/7. So I feel like I don't want to like lead towards expectations that are not going to happen, right? When it comes to this, and two, what is the actual cost of us doing it? Because it's not just going to be, what's it called? The staff having to write, but also obtain information. So I know for residential parking, they have to bring, I think it's insuring, registration, other stuff that shows that it is their vehicle. And that also, because you're giving them this extra accessibility or pass, right? And how will that apply? Like if you have other residents that are like coming to visit, other people are coming to visit, you're allowed to do it. I was very surprised that the California one coded on it. And I'll tell you this, if it happens to be in California, I travel a lot. That's my home, my other home state. And that rule is not followed, especially in a lot of the major cities where there's not a lot of parking, including Los Angeles, right? People park in their driveways all the time and it's not enforced because they know the limitations that they are, especially because even with parking on the driveway, people are sometimes having to park 3 blocks away from their house and it becomes a challenge, right? So I just want to make sure we potentially look more into it to make sure we're not creating a bigger problem than we're trying to solve, both for our staff members and something at the end that it might require like an extra staff member that, unless you're selling those passes for $300, might not be able to afford for us to do this. So that's something to take into consideration. The other thing is that, so I feel like we have more questions than answers when it comes to like procedure on the staffing end. City Manager, Mr. Kamali, what are your thoughts before I open it to the community?
Right, thank you, Mayor. Well, I just saw this, I wish we had
Can you give me
this
one
one
second, Mr. Kamali? Do you guys mind if you guys could add like at least 5 more minutes, Mayor and Council? Because I saw the screen time is up before I interrupt you, Mr. Kamali. My apologies. Can I have a motion on the floor to add more time? 5 minutes?
Motion.
Is there a
Second.
second? All right, properly
Seconded.
moved in second. Thank you. Any discussion? Objections, abstentions, here none. We'll put 5 more minutes. Go ahead, Mr. Kamali, the floor is yours.
Yeah, we just saw this. I just saw it, that was sent to Melissa this afternoon, and there are so many questions that needs to be answered. And right now, I remember the last time we were talking about parking in front of somebody's driveway was in 2023, as Chief said, on Perry Street, 3602 block. We haven't heard any. I, as a city manager, I never received any complaint. Chief is here. Chief can attest to that too. And if there is a problem, the easiest way is to call dispatch. We have a narrow streets. We're a small, city. And when it comes to the staff, capacity, I don't really have, because the code enforcement officer only works from 9 to 5, right, Chief?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So we don't have the staff, capacity. And as Valerie said, it's good to know how many complaints we have received so far, or how much revenue we're talking, about this. So this is, it's got so many questions that needs to be answered. And as Luke, suggested, that should have been given to staff, especially Chief and code enforcement, to review it. And if they have any question and ambiguities, they can reach out to the council member for the solution. And I'm just surprised, I see something like this afternoon. That's all.
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna open it out. Thank you for your feedback, Mr. Kamali. I think that I would like to, when in doubt, reach out to the city manager so that way at least he understands what's happening. And I think that at least I'll speak for myself as an I statement. This is the first time I've seen this presentation in the meeting. So I think you could see that I think most of us are trying to figure out what the solution is heading towards and how it will be fixed. And the council member said that it was after 10 people she lost count, right? So what exactly does it look like? Because I remember face-to-face conversation we're talking about, there was a lot of other people talking about how is it instrumental for them to be able to park in their driveway to protect kids, but other people also talked about it allows them to have parking in front of their house. And yeah, there are some people that do on it, and when they call the police, they usually come and remove them. So whether you have the tag or not, it sounds to me very much that the way to activate that this is not happening, because realistically, the officers are not going to be driving trying to look for those tags as they're working on various things, right? It might be, what's it called? The list of the lowest priorities at this point, right? But again, it gets activated if the resident calls the officers, PD, and say, hey, there's somebody blocking, I need you guys to come remove them, right? And that's more or less, I feel like, whether it's with the passes or whether it's without the passes, that's the way it works. And because now it's also county law, I kind of feel like because they're allowed to play with the parking because county law, right? We will have to change the rules, and it makes me feel like with the residents cohesively, right? Because I see a lot of residents parking in their driveway. Cohesively, we want to purchase this, so now they know that option is completely taken off from them, and now they have to pay for something that they were receiving for free. Because I will tell you that even with some of those residential parking permits, some of the residents are not very happy with them because they realize now that it doesn't stop heavy parking from happening, right? So it's definitely a challenge. Okay, so I'm gonna let me see. I see a message on Facebook, and I apologize. I've been writing letters of testimony for the whole weekend. As you guys know, the General Assembly has 90 days, and they don't believe in holidays. So on Monday, there was testimonies and letters to be submitted. They don't take a break, and neither do we. So that's basically how it's been. But we are day 49 at this point. So we're getting close to the, a little over halfway point. All right, let me see. Derek, I see a comment here. Do you want to read it or you want me to read it?
I can read it. I can just say it really quickly that I
So
don't need.
just give me first, last name, block.
Yes, ma'am. Derek
Go ahead,
Reynolds.
thank you.
4002 32nd Street in Mount Rainier. The only comment I have really quickly is that I am completely supportive of people being able to park in their own driveway, and the police that have come every single time I call have told me that there's no way they know if the car blocking my driveway is my car or not. So they just drive by because they have other things they're doing. And so I didn't know about this proposal, but I like the idea of at least putting something city endorsed in your windshield, and you could park in your own driveway. And then that solves the problem that I hear all of you are saying, which is city parking. If somebody doesn't have room for their car, they can block their own driveway. I don't understand how limited parking means allowing someone else to park in my driveway, because that doesn't seem right to me as a resident. But I do understand if people want to park blocking their own driveway. I understand for your children's purposes, you don't have room for your car and all that kind of stuff. That's more than what I typed, Mayor, but that's basically my idea.
Next time I'll be like, I will read it. Thank you so much. So I just want to clarify something. I think that I just want to make sure that at no point are we saying that this allow for other people that are unauthorized to block your driveway. I think at all means it means like that. That's the reason why you call the police and say, here it is, right? But I will tell you that even with the placards that don't have addresses on, it's time consuming for code to be able to put those residential placards, and now having personalized to have an email, an address is so. Well, I think we have to potentially go back to drawing board to figure out what it looks like and what the cost to this program is going to look like, because you could have the placard, but if you don't have staff that's able to drive around, get out of the car for every single driveway to do it. The other thing is, like, even if you have a guest, will that apply to the car that that you have there? I think that for most of the passes the city gives, and I'll wrap it up with this, most of the passes that the city gives, they're attached to a drive, to, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, they're attached to a plaque and a card number. So that way you authorize that the passes are also not being misused. So that's basically what the city keeps, like, more or less with information they do ask, like the address of the house, that the car is insured, that the car that has a license plate, and it goes by vehicle, not necessarily on it. So this will potentially also negate if you have guests, they will not be able to park in your driveway without registering for the city. So that's like another level we need to think about. All right. Thank you guys so much for this. And Derek, thank you for joining us tonight. You're welcome to stay like the rest of the wonderful people. But if not, we fully understand. You could hear us later about it, okay?
Mayor, I've had my hand up. Can I speak to this?
It's time is up already,
This is
Danielle.
my presentation.
Time is up already, Danielle. Okay, I think that, can you please grab back, Melissa, do you have the ability for the presentation? All right. All right, moving on. Sorry, Melissa. There. Moving on to item number 6, presentation discussion, the proposed FY26 budget. The city manager, Mr. Kamali, I'm so used to calling you Mr. Kamali that when I read your full name, it's a little weird. Mr. Karush Kamali and Mr. Ronald Wilson will present the proposed FY26 budget to the mayor and council and have a discussion on tax rate. Just to clarify, this is the formal saying you guys have been given the budget and you work on it. This is not the read through line by the city manager or Mr. Wilson as well by Ron. This is more like officially wanting you guys know that the budget has been submitted and it's officially on our network if you want to take a look at it, and we'll discuss the proposed tax rate. That's what's going to be addressed tonight. Correct, Mr. Kamali and Ron? I just want to make sure we do not set the expectations that we're going to be reading through the whole budget tonight, because we have a whole Saturday to do that.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Mr. Kamali, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We are so excited to present the city's proposed operating budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026, and capital improvement plan. As you all know that you received a copy of it on Friday. So right now, I have my finance director or finance consultant for the city, Mr. Ron Wilson. I'm turning it over to Ron to provide a presentation and few highlights on our budget for FY 2026.
And thank
Ron?
you so much. And I think it's on the screen right now. Ron, this is what you want on the screen right now?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
perfect. So I'll see you the floor. Go ahead.
Okay, so Mayor and Council, this presentation is going to be in 4 sections. We're going to talk about the budget schedule. We'll give an overview of the proposed budget, and then a little more detail on the budget breakdown. So, Melissa, if you could scroll down. Okay, so here's our budget calendar for this year's process. So, on the 14th, we did submit the proposed budget to the council, and tonight, the 18th, we are making the presentation to the council. Our next step is that on March 6th, if required, I'm sorry, not if required, but we will publish notice on the official budget hearing for March 22nd and the notice of the constant yield rate for the real estate taxes. Then on the 22nd of March, we will have the public hearing and public comment on the proposed budget and a council work session on the budget. That's the all-day session that we do on Saturday. On the 1st of April, there will be discussion of the proposed budget and reading of the ordinance into the record. Then on the 8th of April, there's another public hearing on the proposed budget and discussion by the council. Then on the 15th, a second reading of the proposed budget, the budget ordinance, and if we're ready, a vote by the council. If that vote doesn't take place on the 15th, then we have 2 backup dates, May 6th and June 3rd, for doing the final vote by the council on the 26th budget. So we have 3 main goals in establishing this budget. We obviously want to maintain the proper level and quality of both the infrastructure and the services that the city provides. We want to pay current costs with current revenues, and we want to maintain the stability of the tax structure. All right. So I'm going to have to lean forward. This is very small. Melissa, is there some way to make that larger? Okay. So some things to keep in mind when we're comparing the fiscal 26 budget to fiscal 25. Real estate tax revenue does continue to grow, but more slowly than we saw in some previous years. We're projecting a 3% increase in real estate taxes for fiscal 26. Speed camera revenue from new citations is declining, but this is being offset by collections of delinquent accounts. The net result is that we're essentially stable in our speed camera revenue. And finally, ARPA funds will continue to be used in fiscal 26, but will be at a much slower pace as the large infrastructure projects will be completed in fiscal 25. Here's a chart of the breakdown of the revenue. I'm not going to read them all, but the big ones are the tax revenue. That mostly is the real estate taxes and the shared state income tax. That's $6 million just in those 2 items. further breaking down the proposed budget compared to fiscal 25, we have a 5% COLA increase for all employees to offset inflation and to aid in employee retention. In addition to the COLA, those police officers who are covered by the CBA will also receive a 2% merit. That's by agreement. We currently have a contingency of $156,000, and we have $500,000 for streets and sidewalks, plus $1.9 million in grant funds from the Safe Streets for All. That's the multi-year grant, and we're projecting to spend $1.9 million during fiscal 26. Here's the chart of our general fund expenses. Again, I won't read all of them, but I will give you the big ones. Wages and leave pay is a big portion of our expense budget. Grants expense is also a rather large piece of our expense budget. And then also infrastructure and facilities maintenance. So our employee roster for fiscal 26 is unchanged. In general government or city hall, we have 3 FTEs. In administrative services, there are 5.
Full-time employees.
Yeah. Oh,
So
I'm
that way
sorry.
people
Yes,
know what it is.
FTE, full-time equivalent. Economic development has 1 FTE. Public safety, that's the police department, 23 FTEs. Code compliance, 4 FTEs. Public works, 10 FTEs. For a total of 46 FTEs for fiscal 26. And that's the same as fiscal 25 and the same as fiscal 24. Some ongoing developments that we're seeing. Real estate values are increasing, but not at the same rate as we saw a few years ago. That's reflected in the slowing down of the increases in real estate taxes. Taxable personal income and the resulting income tax is also increasing. I would say moderately. Grant activity is strong, predominantly because of the Safe Streets for All grant. And at the same time, the ARPA funds will taper off in fiscal 26. All right, this is
before you go in, Ron, just to point out, when it comes to the ARPA funding, those are already been pre-approved and pre-assigned funding, so there's no more funding to pre-approve. They're just running the course of what needs to be expended. Just
that is
that point of
correct.
clarification.
Yes,
so there's no more
everything has
money
been
coming or money to be allocated. Yeah.
right. Everything has been allocated, and we're just spending on those allocation decisions. This is a summary of the proposed budget for fiscal 26. In the revenue section, we're projecting $6.7 million in tax revenue, $623,000 in licenses and permits, $609,000 in intergovernmental revenue, $26,000 in charges for services, $837,000 in fines and forfeitures. That's predominantly the speed camera, $208,000 in miscellaneous, and $2.7 million in grant revenue, for a total revenue with grants of $11,681,000. On the expense side, wages and leave pay at $3.6 million, employee benefits and services at $2.1 million, materials and supplies at $265,000, repairs and maintenance at $139,000, professional services at $840,000, Other services and charges at $440,000. Community activities at $180,000. Infrastructure and facilities maintenance at $933,000. Capital outlays of $195,000. Debt service of $236,000. Grant expense of $2.7 million. It matches the grant revenue. They always wash to zero. So total expenses with grants of $11,681,000. Any questions?
Okay, so I'm gonna open it up, Ron, and to the council. Thank you guys for putting this presentation to get together. As I stated before the presentation, this is just a snip on this part. We'll go ahead and also tax on the proposed tax that's coming, but council, I'm gonna go around. If you have any questions on this, let us know. And we'll make sure to present also what the tax rate is also gonna be. So thank you guys. Jared, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks again, Ron and Mr. Kamali, for putting this together. Thorough, thoughtful. It was just, again, digging through it. And I appreciate, again, the accuracy, the thoughtfulness, the detail. We've come a long way since you and Mr. Kamali came on board in this role. And I really appreciate just how this process and how thoughtful it is. And I appreciate in general, I just want to say I appreciate the conservatism here, given the uncertainties, as you know, around the real estate values. And I would also just kind of in general say, obviously, two things. Given the current administration so far, there is, not a lot of federal, at least federal level or state grants that are federally funded, funding opportunities on the horizon. So I think, I just want to make sure folks that are watching, know that that's kind of something hanging over. And, likely we are not in a area that is, I would say, as politically aligned with the new administration. The second thing, and I'm sure other folks have been thinking about this a lot, is the fire layoffs and reductions in forces that have started and have been happening, and I think we can expect to continue to happen, are probably going to cause a lot of uncertainty in the region. I think I have to hazard a guess on this. I feel like because we're a much more working class city, we're probably less impacted directly from some of the federal employee layoffs, but there's still a lot of federal employees and federal contractors in town. I've known multiple people that have gotten laid off. I don't know it's going to look like the recession in 2008-9, but I just remember it's when I first moved to the city. I think I can't remember if anyone else. Danielle, I think you might have been the only other one here, but just the impact here, our city's budget was just like disseminated by the drop in property values. And we went from being able to provide a decent level of services to like not being able to provide any at all. And that, it's not a fun, we had a really hardworking staff and dedicated folks. Just our tax revenue cratered because of the what happened to the property tax base. And, again, a lot of this, may not be a national dynamic this time, but it may be at least some regional impacts that we have not seen yet. So that's just some thoughts as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing the information and history. And at that time also they had to increase the taxes, the yield high to be able to, and that's the reason why when we came in was the 95 cents, right? And we started dropping as much as we can to balance it out a little bit, but thank you for the points that you made. And that's something to keep in mind, as this is definitely a document that is a working document that is presented to us, and then we'll figure out what it looks like with the impacts. So I'm going to go Danielle, Luke, and Valerie.
Thank you. Yeah, Jared's right. He was right on nose about that. I remember the services, there just weren't any. In fact, I remember when Luke was running for council and he stopped by my house and he said, what do you see that we need? And I said, we need garbage cans. Look at the way our city looks, And that's one of the proudest things. Yeah, the food force is another, and the Native Network and stuff. But yeah, those trash cans, helping bring those services back meant a lot to not only the aesthetic of the community, but the individual residential feel. So we've seen hard times before and we've weathered through them. And I do, as somebody who is fiscally conservative, I am very appreciative of seeing some of this. However, we do have other challenges we need to consider in the budget. And I've looked over the email that we got, and I look forward to going through this proposal with a fine tooth comb and making notes here and there. But I appreciate both you gentlemen, your hard work putting this together, and I look forward to the read.
Okay, thank you. Luke, Valerie?
Thanks, Mayor. Just thank you, Ron and Kamali, for putting this together. I'm looking forward to digging into, more of the specifics in the line items. I do want to echo Jared's points here. I think it's a good time to be fiscally conservative. We've got a lot of big projects. We still have Potts Hall to finish up. So making sure the city's in good financial footing and prepared for contingencies should they arrive, I think will be really important heading into next year's budget. Just appreciate digging into it more in our further conversations we're going to have. Thanks.
Thank you, Luke. Valerie?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for putting this together and for the presentation. I've already started looking into it, and I'm looking forward to the budget discussions. So thank you, and that's all for now.
So I will echo everybody's thank you. And obviously there's a lot of concerns coming of the unknown, right? And I think that as a city, we're trying to make sure, one, we do not, cash checks that we cannot fund, because there's no way we're going to go back to a time where we were struggling with audits and trying to put pieces together, right? That's just not where we need to be. So I think that a conservative budget will help. The other thing is to keep in mind, and that's what I made a point up front, ARPA is no longer here, and there were quite a few programs that were funded through ARPA, right? That are going to have to be funded if we want to continue them through the budget. And some of them, we have sometimes at times various organizations asking to help from the city, right? But at the end of the day, if we cannot take care of our own residents, we're in trouble. Potts Hall is almost done. We also need to figure out what looks like at a federal level. And the other part to point out when it comes to the SS4O grant, we have to, the way it works is we have matching funds that we need to provide in order to be able to do so. The 9.7 do not land in our bank account and here you go spend them. It's a multi-year thing, and it heavily is weighted on us being able to match the 20% that is required every year. So I will tell you that this team works really hard to make sure that they're conservative in their numbers, and the message goes out to all the directors and to all the staff and to everybody, right? Committees and everybody, right? That even if we were to put in little tiny numbers, $10 as a line item, doesn't mean we need to be spending all $10, right? But we need to find ways to make sure that we don't get to those $10 in order to make sure that we continue having funding for rainy days. Because as the year goes on, we might have to shift and move, when it comes to a budget amendments to be able to face whatever reality is in front of us. So I would say that I have full confidence in this team who has brought us back from dark days of no audits, and also making sure that we pull through. They are very, very penny wise when it comes to it. And they try to do their best to make sure they make sure we live within our means and go out their grants. But the reality is like Jared mentioned, right? Grants are limited because of the way things are going, but that's not going to stop the team from going out there trying as much as they can. But we also need to be able to land our feet on expectations of what potentially could be and cannot be, right? And that includes that I don't want to have to be put in a position that I have to, we have to vote in sending the city manager to go get a lot more money, let's say from to go request fundings from a bank because we cannot, funnel what financially we need to. And digging into our rainy fund is not going to help us because at this point, we saw what COVID did and we were definitely not ready for that. And because we had a rainy fund and we were we had a team that pulled together, we were able to thrive as much as we could will be the proper words. But the reality is that had we not had a good team in place that were conservative on it, even the rainy fund will have been completely rained. So I would say that think conservatively, think about what else is on it, but be aware that we do have responsibilities to our residents. And at this point, I don't think none of us want to be put in a position that we have to go to our residents and say we're increasing taxes. We've done a hell of a great job since like the year before we came in, right, Luke? Even the council right before we came in and started reducing taxes, and we have reduced taxes to maintain them. But from 95 cents to 75 cents is a big drop. It's not it's something that we felt that we wanted to make sure, we brought it down to what we needed to make sure we, but it's been challenging because that means that we don't have X amount of funding. And the other thing that we have done is that we have increased, give me the charger, honey. We have also increased tax credits and credits when it comes to like, military, our seniors and people getting some funding back in order for them to be able to stand in location. So in saying that, when we do that, which helps our residents, which is great, it targets a certain group to help them. It also means there's less money coming into the coffers of the city. So I would say to you that continue working as great as you guys are working. And two things I want to make sure is up, you have it in your calendars. There's a bill right now in legislation that basically says that our tax deal needs to be submitted no later than, I think it's the third week of June. Originally supposed to be before June 1st. So we advocated and said like, hey, most of us are passing our budget along with our tax deal. We need a little bit of time. So we managed to get 3 more weeks added to it. I think based on our calendar, we should be fine. But keep that in mind as we move forward because it looks like that legislation is going to pass. So keep that focus on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, can we make sure we talked about the tax deal before I open it up to the community so that way it's a combined questions if need be. And you could go ahead and read the whole document. Let me run and get a charger, but I still could hear you. Okay.
I'm a little unsure. Do you want us to read this whole document or just talk
If
about
you could
the
read
tax
what
rate?
the residential, the apartment, the commercial, industrial, and the
Okay.
tax, what you guys are proposing basically. So that was
Sure.
in the record verbally, although it's in the
Okay.
budget, but at least we could say like verbally, you guys read it as well.
Okay. So yes, we are proposing that the tax rates remain unchanged for fiscal 26. So that means that the residential and single family rate will be 75 cents per $100 of assessed value. The apartment multifamily property tax rate will be 86 cents per $100 of assessed value. The commercial and industrial rates will be 79 cents per $100 of assessed value. And the townhouse rate will be 75 cents per $100 of assessed value. The blended constant yield tax rate for fiscal 26 will be 76.85 cents per $100 of assessed value. The personal property tax rate, we're also recommending that be unchanged at 99 cents per $100 of assessed value. As well, the railroad and public utility tax rate, we're proposing to be unchanged at $2.75 per $100 of assessed value. And as well, the vacant developed property tax rate is unchanged at $2.50 per $100 of assessed value.
So Ron, can you go back to what the projected tax yield for this upcoming year is?
Yes.
So, and this one, when it
yes.
says the blended constant yield, that for FY 26, based on the CYTR, right, is 0.7685, which
Right.
means that our real homestead is actually below that, correct?
I don't know that I understand that question.
So you see how it says the blended custom yield tax rate
Yes,
is 0.7685, correct?
correct.
And our residential is at 0.75. So I think this is one of the first years that we have gone below it just by even a little bit.
Yeah, I don't recall from previous years. Now that blended rate, is all of the different elements. So you've got some 75s, some 86s, and 79s in there. But
No,
that's
Ron,
the rate for residential properties, single family homes and townhouses is below the constant yield tax rate.
Yeah, and that's important to know because I think that we have gotten close, but it's never been below, which means that it's definitely good news, you know? So I think that that's something that eventually we wanted to try to get, and we did. I think last year we were as close as we've been in a while, and I think this might be the first year in a while. Luke, am I correct? And this is the first year in a while that we are a little below the yield itself. So
Mayor, you're correct, because last year it was 0.7247. And this year is 0.76. So last year our tax rate was higher, but this year we are lower than the constant yield, tax rate.
perfect. Thank you. I mean, you guys know I'm very picky and selective with numbers, so that's definitely something to highlight and something that we have been working hard trying to be around as close as we could. That's why we went from 95 to where it was to try to keep it within the same, within the same universe. I mean, compared to 20 cents or whatever it was, a certain point above it. All right, perfect. Let me open the floor to the council. Do you guys have anything to add regarding this part of the presentation? If you're good, let me know. But Valerie, I'm gonna let you go first because I apologize. As I rotate, you're like in my bottom of my screen.
I think I'm good. Thank you.
Good. Danielle?
I'm good for now.
Jared?
I'm good for now. Thank you.
Perfect. And Melissa, I do see you. I just want to make sure I go around. Luke, are we good or?
Yep, good.
All right, perfect. And I don't see no questions from anybody. All right, so please show up to our meetings when we discuss the budget. Our team reads line by line aloud, and we all this has basically was done to make sure that we know that everybody hears the same information and it's not just you reading it on your own. So we look forward to seeing you in the various reading. Thank you guys for putting this document together. I know it takes a lot of work, and for those that are not aware, they start building this budget. The minute one is approved, they're already starting to work on figuring out like where the numbers are at to give us the most accurate budget as they could potentially give us. All right, thank you guys so much. All right, let me see. Next item is presentation of the minutes. Our city clerk, Melissa Sam, will present the minutes for February 04 legislative meeting minutes to the council. They're in your package. Take a look at them and you know how to get a hold of her. And these are going to be up for vote on our March legislative meeting. And saying that, we're going to move on to item number 8. Proposal to go into closed session according to the annotated code of Maryland. The Mayor and City Council of the City of Mount Rainier, Maryland have the statutory authority to close the session under General Provisions Article 3-305B for the reasons of subsection 7, which is to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. The Mayor and Council will propose to go into closed session on today, Tuesday, February 18th, to consult with the city attorney to obtain legal advice. So can I have a motion on the floor to go into closed session for provision Article 3-305B for the reasons of subsection 7?
So moved.
Seconded.
Is there probably move and second any discussion? Objections, abstentions, here none. Council and our city manager, we need to like move from this call to a closed session. And for the community, the only item that we have coming back will be adjournment. And that'll be about it, okay? But after we close the closed session, we'll come in. Go ahead, Luke.
Can we have 5 minutes before starting the closed session?
Nope, sorry. Go ahead. We'll have 5 minutes, so it's 8:50. So 55 will work for you guys?
Yep.
All right.
Thanks.
8:55, Mr. Kamali and Meli, can you guys make sure you guys send the links so we have them in top of our deck? And if you guys could text our city attorney as well. All right, thank you guys and have a great night, and thank all the staff that was here and all the residents for all the great work that you do, whether you volunteer or like helping our community or you work for the city. Thank you guys so much. All right, take care. Thank you guys so much. We are coming back from a closed session that we just had. I see Daniel, Luke, Valerie, and we're waiting for Jared, city managers here, and our team is also here. And in the meantime, Melissa, can you put the subsection that we went into closed meeting for? All right, perfect. So we I'd like to we went ahead and closed it, so we are back from closed session. As a reminder, we closed the meeting for Article 3-305B for the reason of subsection 7 to consult to obtain legal advice. And in our next scheduled meeting, Valerie, who's our point person right now, will be giving us a report. Those in the closed session, just as a preview, were the city manager, our city attorney, and all 4 members of council and myself, or 5 of us, were there, and it closed immediately right before this session. So Valerie will give you the official report at the legislative meeting in March, but that's all we have to report at this point. All right, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second.
Well, you guys really want to hang around, right? Okay, so we probably moved and second. Any discussion? Abstention? None. And just for the record, all 5 of us are here. Okay, all 5 elected officials are here. I know I didn't take roll back again, but Daniel, Luke, Valerie, Jared, and myself are all here. All right. Okay, have a wonderful night, everyone. And if you need more information about the lengthy list of events that are in the city of Mount Rainier calendar, mountrainiermd.org, you can find all of the wonderful events there. Thank you guys for putting this together, and we look forward to seeing you soon. All right, take care.
All
Bye.
right,
Thank you, guys.
Good night. Thank
Good
you,
night,
Mayor and
Sal.
Council.
Good
Bye.
night, City Manager. Bye, Melly. Bye, Jared.